it's time to begin. All right.
Welcome to this video that I have been talking about making for a while. Had a lot of people ask me to make for a while, but just kind of haven't gotten around to yet, which is my thoughts on the current state of Standard, which if you have been a viewer of my stream or just paying attention to what I've been uploading on YouTube, you may know I don't have a terribly high opinion of it right now. I actually haven't played Standard in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Just because I've just been really sick of it, and I haven't even done any kind of like review of the new mini set cards or discussion about that because I'm just so uninspired by the content of the mini set given what else is going on in the current state of Standard. It's interesting because I think Standard from like a mathematical perspective, right? If you look at like the balance of Standard, it's actually not bad, right? There's a diverse number of decks and of classes that, you know, are doing well. There's not any kind of individual deck that like really stands out as like oppressive.
It's a bit quiet. All right, I'll turn it up.
Toward the rest, like from like a raw breakdown, if that's what you're looking at, Standard's fine, right? It's actually reasonably healthy, and yet it sucks. And I want to talk about why.
So remember, these are pointing out these are subjective opinions. He's saying it sucks. I think it far from sucks. I actually think this, just giving my opinion, I think this meta has been a great arc, and it's at the end of the arc, and it's like the opposite of a TV show. Like a TV show is kind of sucks in the middle and is like good at the end of a season. A Hearthstone meta is like, so Hearthstone metas have all these different peaks. This is a meta that kind of sucked at the beginning, got actually really good, and then kind of has become all paladin and kind of sucks now. All right. So, you know, I do think this meta is kind of meh now, but it has been an interesting arc. It's been exciting. It's had a lot of interesting decks, and now it's just too much paladin and it's a little blah. But I don't think, you know, he's framing it as right now, but like I think if you look at the last month, it's been good overall. Like I'd give it a 6.75 out of 10, which is which is not amazing, but it's like good enough. All right. Which is not what you want to hear. Like you want to. I'm looking at, you know, in my scale, in my scale, like a 9 out of 10 happens like once every 2-3 years, you know, kind of thing. So, and then 10 out of 10 happens once. So
I want to talk about why, despite the fact that Standard seems to be in a healthy spot, I have had about the least interest in playing it that I have in a very long time. And it really breaks down to interaction. If you look at the current Standard metagame, and not necessarily just like the top performing decks, but the popular decks and everything, one thing is very common amongst them. They are either a very aggressive strategy. You know, we have stuff like Bounce / Protoss Rogue. There's like the various Paladin decks, the various aggro Menagerie decks, you know, things like that. The aggro hand buff Hunter decks that kind of spill out a bunch of stuff on the board and try and kill you as quickly as possible. And then there's the decks that try and kill you in one turn, or effectively end the game with something that you cannot stop over the course of a turn or a couple of turns.
This is like saying, oh, I'm not sure. Like he's saying decks are coming to kill you, right? Decks are either trying to kill you with aggression or they're trying to kill you in the late game, and they don't want you to stop them. Like he's sort of describing win conditions like it's a bad thing. You know, what does he want here, right? I mean, there are players, and I'm actually one of them, who likes this world where neither player like gets it, and then you're hero powering and you're hitting each other with 1/1s, and games go for 50 minutes, but the game has been kind of over for 30 minutes. Most players don't like that. I'm a sick person. I enjoy the Kibler lifestyle, all right? But that's kind of not the way the game's been went. Like, and he's saying in one turn, this is not an OTK meta. Like, as someone who is super anti-OTK meta, Saladril is not an OTK deck. It occasionally does like 20 damage OTKs. It's really not, you know, it's a really powerful deck. It's a little too strong. So his, he's saying, oh, I'm curious, like, what does he want? He wants an opponent to play a deck that just never wins, right? It's like, well, it's win conditions. Like, what is he saying here? But let's keep going.
And that latter category is much more my concern. I know that lots of people tend to get frustrated by aggressive decks being popular and powerful. I generally don't. And the reason for that is that aggressive decks are the sort of thing that it is often both much clearer what you can do to improve your own deck against them, and also something that like just allows you to play the game of Hearthstone, right? If they're like playing out minions and attacking you, you can play minions and like attack them or use removal spells and things like that. And all of that is kind of fundamental to what Hearthstone is about. You're actually playing the game and interacting with your opponent. On the other extreme, and this is something that, people are like, oh, you always say this, you hate combo decks. I don't hate combo decks. I hate when there are a preponderance of decks in the metagame that make it so that once you reach a certain point in the game, nothing prior to that mattered. This isn't to say that these decks are even particularly good, that they don't even necessarily have to be like among the best decks.
So I'm curious what he's gonna say about that. I do feel AlTK was like that, where I gained 60 life and they just could kill me. I don't feel like that's the game at all right now. So I see what he's saying. That doesn't seem to be the game at all. If you gain 20, 30 life, oh, Zimmery, yeah. So Zimmery is, this is also a thing of like, I'm playing in a different meta than he is. So Zimmery it might be that kind of thing, right? So we'll see. It's hard where he's playing in a different meta in a different kind of world. So it might be a problem. This might be a problem that doesn't really apply to the top 200 players. So we have a different perspective, where if you're playing in a style and level of like top 5,000, I came out, I was worried that Zimmery Priest, I think Zimmery Priest is incredibly boring. I don't like it. I think it's a boring playstyle. Zimmery it's just not, I don't think it's good for the game. So it doesn't feel good when you're just playing against this boring tempo deck. If you want me to get on the Zimmery hate train, even though like it's not bad for me, but I don't like the gameplay around it. So I think that's perfectly valid complaint. Zimmery's boring. I don't like these decks that are too easy to play. Basically, it's too easy to just play a bunch of dragons and play your OTK. It's not, decks like Sadrasil are much harder and to do the big like uninteractive turns. So where Zimmery is just kind of like, if you're not doing anything, eventually you do the dragon combo and you win. So let's keep going.
Like the number one example of this in Standard right now is Zarimi Priest. Zarimi Priest, if you just look at the numbers, is not a terribly good deck. It is, a middling deck that...
Yeah, and this is this is a completely valid complaint. Like Zimmery is a deck that will just annihilate Kibler decks, all right? And it's like, do we want this? This is kind of like the Pirate Warrior situation. Do we want these decks that are super easy to play, that don't allow players to play their shitty Kibler decks? I don't think so. I think this is something like we shouldn't allow. I don't like when if you play these no win condition like decks that like last forever, right? And then somebody gives this it's too easy for the beginner player to just beat somebody with that. And I think that was the old Ixar philosophy, and I disagree with it. So while I don't think Hearthstone, like, his initials this, like, this deck sucks. This deck is no fun. This deck makes it not fun for your opponents. Totally agree with him on this. So,
is kind of, just sort of does okay, is like really oppressed by a lot of the more aggressive decks, and, is eminently beatable, right? That doesn't mean it isn't posing a problem for the experience of people playing Hearthstone Standard.
Yeah, and it's kind of this thing of like when they made quest decks, it was very much just too easy, where it's a thing of like it's too easy for the beginner player to play it, and I think the beginner player playing an aggro deck that doesn't have a reliable finisher, something like Buff Hunter or Menagerie Death Knight, is like with a gradual burn is a little more fun. But yeah, Zimri Priest is very polarizing, and it just it makes it so Mr. Kibler here can't play his decks even at the low ranks, because he's at the low ranks and he's, in theory, you should be able to play like sort of worse decks, but your win rate adjusts, right? But if he's just playing all Zimri, because that's in the low rank, he might actually do worse than he would at my rank, because that kind of style of deck just destroys no win condition decks. So you know, I'm totally with him there, and it's interesting to, like, that might completely ruin his play experience, just this one deck. So anyways,
if you want to play any kind of deck that's looking to play a longer game, and your opponent is playing or is able to play, right, a deck that starting on turn 7 with the coin could just kill you from full health at any time, no matter what kind of the game state is, or very, very nearly no matter what. Obviously, if you have 1,000,000 health, or if you have like a board full of gigantic taunts, it's not necessarily going to be able to just kill you, but they can often just clear that and then kill you. It really defines what you can feel like is meaningful to play. And it's not just Zarimi Priest. There's Zarimi Priest, there's Protoss Mage that can kill with Colossus.
yeah, I knew he was gonna come for Protoss Mage, and now we're no longer on Team Kibler. All right, let's hear what he's got to say. All right.
In one turn, or just kill you over the course of 2 turns with no meaningful ability for you to survive.
No meaningful ability to survive. I mean, I've out armored Protoss Mages with decks, so there is meaningful ability to survive. So let's see if he goes to the next one.
There's Wheel of Death.
Okay, dude, Wheel of Death, you're coming and see. Dude, I wanted to be on Team Kibler. I wanted so bad. And then he's coming after my babies. All right, let's go after Protoss Mage, okay? Let's take a look at Protoss Mage. All right. I want you to see, all right, so here we have it, all right? Protoss Mage, okay? I want you to look at the game duration. It's like absurd. Like, it's 10 minutes long, average 11 minutes long on this list here, right? Average, okay? Let's compare that to something like an aggro deck, like Protoss Rogue. That's average 7 minutes. So it's 4 minutes average longer, right? How much longer? Like, this is not, they're coming like on this. You had all day to out interact them, all right? Like, what are you talking? Like, and you could out armor them. You could dirty rat their Colossuses, right? You know, you could pull that stuff out. Like, you dirty rat both Colossuses, or even just dirty rat one. That's often enough to win. So it's like, it's hard. It's because the Protoss Mage is lots of armor, so it's hard for you to kill them too. But like, where is he going with this? All right. So, anyways, let's keep going. He's gonna come after Wheel. Okay, Wheel of Death. Like, I'm gonna preemptively going at this. Wheel of Death takes 5 freaking turns. All right. Look, another 11-minute games. Like, how long do we need the average games to be? It's like the slowest kill possible. 5 turns. All right. Like, what is he just like? It takes forever. It takes 30. You have to have so much defense to pull it off. Often you play Wheel and it's just bait. It's like a bad, like, we could cut Wheel from Wheel Warlock, by the way, and just play for Kill Jaden. You don't really need Wheel. Like, if Wheel went away tomorrow, it might actually be good for Warlock, because it would make it better in the not like other matchups, but worse in the mirror. So it's like, it gives you so much freaking time, you know? Like, he's coming after Wheel. Like, Zimri Priest, I was totally on board. That's turn 7. It's boring. It's too easy. It's too interactive. Colossus Mage did this as a massive interaction, massive amounts of time. All right. Oh, God. All right, here we go.
There's Mill Warlock. There's Ursol Shaldercell.
Okay, I mean, Ursol Shalder's still broken, all right? Like, but that's not really an OTK. I don't know. He's just saying that's very strong. It's too strong. Like, I mean, even, you know what's interesting, though, is people have cut Ursol from this list. So even this combo is not actually what makes the decks good. It's just too tempo-y, and that's a fast. So he's saying it fast. He's saying all these things of, like, here are the strong decks. You know, all right? So anyways.
Which again, doesn't kill you in a single turn, but will generate enough like pressure and value from something that you have no meaningful way to interact with.
I interact with it every day. I freeze all their boards. I stop them. I clear everything, and I gain armor. I do it every single day with both Death Knight and Warlock, all right? What does he mean? No meaningful way to interact? You could totally interact. It's tough. What's tough is they put all this pressure. If they do nothing and they put Ursula on turn 8, it's super easy to beat. All right? It's super easy to beat. But if they put the pressure on you, right, it's tough. So it's completely beatable. It's completely interactive. It's very predictable. So it's much easier to interact than just RNG stuff. I mean, he's, what is he talking about here, right? It's like, you can interact with it totally, right? So anyways,
they will overwhelm just about anything that you're actually doing. And, you know, kind of at the extremes, there's like King Plush, which you don't really see very often with the imbue decks anymore, but it's still like a thing, which,
I mean, he's already preemptively getting ready for the next deck that's gonna win the game. Like, all right, you know, I still want to make it clear that I'm anti Zimmery Priest. All right, like I was totally on board of part 1 of the Kibler video, but it's like, you know, it's like, so
is meaningfully part of this category of decks that reach a point in the game and nothing prior to that mattered. And
that's like, things mattered. If you have 50 life with yours against, and you've controlled the board and they slam Ursula, it's an easy win most of the time. All right, it's an easy win. It did matter. If you would put pressure on the wheel deck and they play wheel, that can kill them, right? So it's what does he want? Like, I mean, it just, his narrative, these things didn't matter, is not true in most of the standard. Like, I don't know his decks, right? But it's like, I don't know. It's I mean, if you're just doing nothing, like what have you been doing for 7 turns? I don't know, like while they're playing the wheel. So you've had a 2 with this. So
there are some number of ways. I say there's no meaningful way to interact. There are cards like Dirty Rat. I actually had an interesting conversation.
Okay.
On my stream around the last time, maybe even the last time that I was playing Standard, when I was talking about how I felt like Dirty Rat was like a bad card against a lot of these combo decks, because a lot of these combo decks, like let's take Zarimi Priest, right?
Zarimi Priest is the only combo, like all these other things were not combo decks, by the way. I just want to say, like, those are not combo decks. As someone who shits onto combo decks every single day, all right, and I've cut all my combo player friends out of my life, all right. I haven't done that, but you know, this is not a combo meta, like.
Right, Zarimi Priest, yes, you can play Dirty Rat against it, and yes, maybe you could hit Zarimi itself or Narrowland.
Yeah, I mean, Zimmery Priest is like Dirty Rat's terrible at Zimmery, so he's right. Like, Zimmery Priest is truly uninteractive, and I want to emphasize. Usually, I feel like in all the Kibler videos, I disagree with this whole premise, and I agree with one example. All right, I agree. Zimmery is bad for the game. It's boring. It makes play, like, a huge amount of the portion of players want to play the Kibler style deck, and it kind of nullifies that in a way that I don't think these other decks do. So,
but if you don't, then you played a Dirty Rat, your like counter card, and it did nothing, right? It did absolutely nothing meaningful. Like, it's like, yes, you can hit one of the 10 drops, but they don't need both 10 drops to kill you. Like, you literally have to hit, and again, this is in a.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tempo thing. So you have to get stuff on board, and you have to play things. If you're just kind of reacting all the time, and you're all Hearthstone from the beginning, I've been playing. So I've been playing this game since I think 2018, late 2018. I've got about 6.5 years of experience. It has always been this way. Now, it might have been before not like this, right? I'm not sure. But it always has been like, you need to get on board. You need to do things. If you don't do anything for even one turn, the tempo advantage will cost you the game. All right. That's kind of the way the game has always been. So that's why I generally am like, this is just normal. Like, this is normal. This is nothing out. This is not an outlier. So.
Matchup where you're playing like a slower deck where, you know, you are giving them a lot of time, you basically have to hit one of 2 cards against an extremely minion dense deck, or your card did nothing. The person who I was talking to in the chat said, well, Dirty Rat is the card that I lose to the most playing Zarimi Priest, so I think you're wrong. It's important to understand sort of the rationale going on here, because obviously, as someone who is playing Zarimi
I mean, I don't I don't want to we're not going to comment too much on the Zimri Priest. I'm just saying because I'm with him that Zimri Priest is boring and bad gameplay, and we should get rid of it. So
Zarimi Priest, who played hundreds of games of Zarimi Priest, the card that visibly beats you more individually than another card is probably going to be Dirty Rat, because it is a card that can hit your thing that lets you win the game in one turn.
So I beat Zimri Priest the other day with Warlock, which is a 25% matchup, by the way, by just by getting my 3-mana spell, getting too many things, and getting a bunch of armor really quickly. And then when they went in on Zimri, they didn't have it. So it is winnable. Like, and you win it by getting a bunch of tempo. And tempo right now, this is your meta. A lot of tempo as a defense is getting a lot of armor. That's kind of the way the meta is right now. So.
And you know that happened, right? But the real card that probably beat you more than any other card is like Harbinger of the Blighted or like Vicious Slither Spear, right? Because those are just played and you die before you get to play your card. But the Dirty Rat, from your side, you remember the times it hit your Neralex or your Zarimi. From the other side, yes, you do remember those, but you also remember the half dozen times that hit something else. You have about like a 1 in 8 chance of hitting a meaningful card if you play it against someone playing Zarimi Priest. Maybe 1 in 6, 1 in 7, 2 in 8, whatever. You know, it's a pretty low chance for the card that is the counter to their deck when you actually played it all. That's kind of an aside, but there isn't really meaningful interaction against a lot of these things. You can't actually stop them from doing.
So there's not the meaningful interaction against Zimri. The only interaction is a tempo. And I also generally agree. I don't like when the only way to beat a deck is Tau tempoing. I think there should be defense. I think Zimri's and if a deck is the only, I think truly inevitable things should be slow. So Wheel is a great inevitable, incredibly slow thing. Colossus is a great inevitability slow thing. So I agree with them that turn 7, Zimri OTK after tempoing out is too fast and non-interactive. I think the interactivity of a Wheel, which is earliest turn 13, you usually lose if you slam Wheel on 8. It's usually not a good play, right? I would just delete it in some way. I hate the deck, right? The Colossus also takes effing forever, all right? So, yeah, anyways, so.
In their thing with any sort of reasonable level of surety, even if you build your deck to try and do so. At least, you know, in most cases. Like, you can try and, like, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't really beat Zimri Priest with defense very well, which I don't like. You know, I like I said, I'm with him on Zimri Priest. It just, he extrapolates that to everything, and then I disagree with him. Like, there needs to be like, there isn't, for me, having decks have win conditions that end the game isn't bad. It's more how fast and how interactive it is, and I think he's completely right on Zimri, even though it doesn't affect me very much. As a high legend player, I was afraid that Zimri Priest was going to dominate, and it didn't dominate. So it's not that meaningful at my ranks. But if he's playing it a lot, it's a boring deck to play against, you know, so.
Like shutter block Dirty Rat out of like a slow controlling shaman deck, and then you probably just can't like beat the board that puts down and you die anyway. But all of that is to say that I feel like there's just a lot of elements in Standard right now that feel extremely non-interactive and suppress a lot of otherwise compelling styles of decks and gameplay choices. And one.
Yeah, so we'll see with this, but I think that the meta is very interactive. I'm gonna go say that Wheel Warlock, Telagashil, the Death Knight. I think I completely disagree that the meta is interactive, but we're in different metas, and I totally agree that Zimri Priest, which is a huge amount of the low legend diamond meta, is very uninteractive and very boring. So I'll say that, right?
One of the most frustrating things is that a lot of these decks that they are suppressing are some of the like highlights of the new expansion, like Imbue Priest, right?
Yeah, dude. Here's what we don't want to hear, all right? Imbue Priest sucks. It's gonna suck. They made it suck. No amount of nerfing things is not gonna make it suck. All right. They preemptively nerfed it. All right. It's terrible. They're not gonna make it good. I see Toneberry, a Priest friend, complaining on Twitter, being like, how they did make it bad. Like, Blizzard hates Priest. They don't give a shit. It's all just like, here's something. All right. It's not gonna happen. All right. What's that meme from Mean Girls? Like, stop trying to make Imbue Priest happen. It's a 33% win rate deck. All right. It's you're not gonna, it's infinite value, but it's not the way the game is designed. Right. It's not enough tempo. So it's like, so yeah. It's anyways.
Sucker for something like Imbue Priest. When I play Hearthstone, I want to play a style of deck that gets to play a bit of a longer game that has a variety of different things happening, because that differentiation and experience is what is fun to me.
I agree with him here. I like a longer game with some differentiation of experience. Yeah, I like that we're, I just think you can do that right now. So to some extent, so.
And figuring out the plan that goes along over the course of the game with stuff like Discover, with stuff like Random Generation, that creates enough variety in the game that like is compelling to me, and is part of the reason that I really have enjoyed this game for so long. That deck is unplayable. It's not because like, oh, these other decks are really powerful, but because you will just never win against these OTK style decks. You simply cannot.
I got news for you. You're not going to win against anything. It's not the OTKs. It's just bad. All right. I tried. All right. We can nerf everything, and Imbue Priest is still gonna suck. And they can do more buffs than Imbue Priest. It's terrible. All right. But like let's get rid of Zimmery Priest. All right. But it's so bad, and like I swear Blizzard just doesn't want Imbue Priest to be good. So
HS replay stats of Imbue Priest versus Protoss Mage is like 18%. Zarimi Priest.
Yeah, dude. I mean, let's just go over to HS replay, all right, and look at Zimmery Priest, okay, or not Imbue Priest. Wow, the worst deck in the game. Chat, it is literally the worst deck in the game. Okay, like this isn't a mage problem, all right. Okay, it also loses to Demon Hunter, right? It also loses to the aggro deck, Saladrasil Paladin. It also loses to Buff Hunter. It also loses to other control deck, all right? Other control deck, okay? It also loses, I mean, it really just, that is its thing, it's not, he's like, oh, see, Protoss is bad. Like, it's losing, see all these reds? It looks like it could beat Blood Death Knight, okay? At a 57.8% win rate. That's a pretty important matchup, right? So, but yeah, it's a lot of losing. It can beat Taunt Warrior barely, okay? Yeah, it's let's see a top 1000 if it doesn't even show up at top. Let's see at Legend, okay? All right, yeah, to see all these reds, like the problem isn't Mage here, all right? Mage is not your enemy, all right? It's Imbue Priest just is very sad, okay? So let's go back. So
on like 20%, which by the way is about the math of your Dirty Rat hitting. This is one of,
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a terrible deck. It's not Dirty Rat. Anyways. I don't want to design the whole game around Imbue Priest, okay? It's not worth saving, okay? I enjoyed it in the Theory Craft. I had a good time, but it's just not going to happen,
the decks and one of the strategies and mechanics that is introduced with the new expansion, which is something that again is really compelling to someone like me, and it's just embarrassing to play. It's like miserable to play. Like it is.
He's right. It's embarrassing. It's you click your hero part of a bunch of time, you get like a shitty 5/11 that says you're gonna win in 3 turns, but you don't, and then you die. So
is the reason that I stopped playing Standard is because I kept trying to play this, and it was always just miserable. There wasn't anything I could try and change about my deck. It's just structural. And that entire type of strategy is unplayable. And it's
yeah. So this is the hard thing about Hearthstone, right? If you are a one-trick pony, you play in one way and one class, you are all, for the last 5 years, you're going to have a bad time, because they're going to, once in a while this, but you're going to have situations where your style sucks, right? And so it's a thing of, it's hard if like this is the only way, because there are other value decks, there are other slow decks, there are other control decks that are very playable. But it's not imbue priest, you know, so it's just not there. So
Major mechanic in the new expansion. It's not like this is like
yeah, I mean, I don't like that imbue kind of sucks. I'm with him on that, but that's also like in an expansion. Often, some expansions are bangers and everything works, aka Skullman's Academy. Some expansions you have 3 classes that get good stuff, and the other stuff is mostly irrelevant for the other classes. That's kind of the way it's been. When everything's a banger, then it's hard for you to meet it in the next expansion, or you get power creep out of control. So sometimes they want to make stuff that sucks. That's kind of been the Hearthstone philosophy. So basically I'm saying imbue sucks, and it's going to continue to suck, and it's not going to change. And some imbue stuff is marginally terrible, not terrible. So it's like okay, but just not as good as the other stuff. But in general, imbue is pretty bad. So
I'm trying to force Control Priest into an environment. It's like, I'm trying to play the cards you gave me. The cards, by the way, that were the reward for the recent quest line. Interestingly enough, that the quest line required you to play Battlegrounds, which is what I have been doing instead of playing Standard, because Imbue Priest is unplayable. So maybe they know. Maybe they're on to me. All of that is extremely frustrating. And even in some of the like non-OTK styles of decks, right? Like things like Starship Warlock. You know, obviously there's Wheel of Death Warlock, which has a lot of the same structure, but like Starship Warlock.
I just want to say great deck. All right, great deck, tons of fun. I'm having a blast. Control, planning, interaction, not winning too fast, multiple win conditions, lots of ways to go. I just want to say this is everything I feel, except for maybe not too much card generation, except for Kill Jaden. This is a great deck. Planning, like thinking about you know, board space issues. This deck's great. All right, love it. All right, big fan.
Warlock that leads up to Kill Jaden, and it has a major component of it, which is like Ancient of Yore plus Curse Campaign plus Eternal Layover, which allows you to generate like tons of extra cards, and you know, you use Ultralisk Cavern to kill everything with the Eternal Layover. A lot of the elements of that are also non-interactive. Ancient of Yore, I think.
What? Okay, what do you? It's so okay. Ancient of Yore is a dormant card, so dormant cards are not interactive by design. That is what they do. So he's right. The dormant by design is not interactive, so he is right. But that allows you to do all these plays that you couldn't do. So I think it's great. You know, he's just saying it's. Anyways, imbue. Someone else say interactive. Yeah. So, control lock is not interactive at all. I mean, I don't know. I disagree, but yours super frustrating. Yeah, because it allows me to play control. Okay. This is your hate needs to get out of here, right? Dormant is great design. Ancient of Yore might be the greatest card ever designed. Okay, big fan.
Is a cool card by itself. Curse Campaign is a cool card by itself. Eternal Layover is a cool card by itself. All these together give you this like card advantage survivability engine that your opponent can never possibly interact with, because there's no.
What? They come kill me all the time. They can interact like they. I mean, if they can interact too easily, then I can't. I'm the one playing the control deck. All right. I'm the one interacting with them. Okay. So, anyways.
No meaningful way to interact with your spells, and like there's no meaningful way to interact with your dormant minions.
So, okay, I remember Kibler was all on this death rattle train. You can't do these death rattle effects if they're just there, right? You get Sadrasiled, all right? You have to clear off your own yours and your own stuff, or you get wrecked by the card putting it back in your hand, all right? Or the old Bob. So it's like I need these cards so that I can stop my opponent. You interact by putting pressure, and then the more you get to the late game, if I get to turn 7 with a Yor on board, that means you didn't put much pressure on, and I had a perfect defensive hand. Often it's hard to do that against opponent putting pressure on, so you often have to get less value, right? So
unless you just get killed, right? And again, my argument is not that like these things are like objectively like too powerful. I started off by saying that I think that like, you know, a lot of what's going on in Standard is that the balance, you know, in a like objective sense is okay, but the actual gameplay experience, in my mind, is what sucks. And I'm not alone. I know that there are a lot of other people. I see thread upon thread on.
Yeah, so like, let's see. Imbue Priest has 90,000 games. All right, that's 90,000 unhappy people. All right, I'll give them that. All right, these are a lot of unhappy people who should give up. But you know, it's so interesting enough. Let's look at Starship Warlock. So Space Warlock, the deck I play, has twice as many people, but that's not even that much for a deck, right? And this isn't even that great, all right? But more, these are happy people, okay? These people are having a good time, okay? But Imbue Priest not having a good time, so.
Reddit about Zermimi Priest and how miserable it is. And obviously there's people who like playing those things. And I don't think that those things...
I mean, Zimmery Priest is really, really easy and it can give you the fun. But I still think I'd rather have easy all-in aggro decks than easy finishable. It's too easy to finish and it crowds out. Like, I think you should be able to play Imbue Priest at like a 40% or a 45% win rate at like garbage legend. And so if your no win condition decks should be able to beat bad aggro players. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. But Zimmery Priest, it's too easy for them to finish you off. So
shouldn't be possible to exist. I just think that they shouldn't be as powerful and popular. Obviously, popularity is a function of power, to a certain extent at least. And there shouldn't be so many of them. There's just so many ways. Even like one of the best aggressive decks in the format, the so-called Drunk Paladin, has Ursol Shelter Cell, which gives you this uninteractable late game engine that will just win against almost any control deck no matter what. And
like I said, he's completely wrong on that. You can beat that very easily with Death Knight. You can beat that with Warlock, right? You can beat that with Mage. What beats you isn't the Ursol, right? It is the aggro that kind of this. And then the Ursol is when you're already at 10 life, then the Ursol comes down and that's tough to beat. All right, so it's very, very easy for a control deck to beat Ursol Saladrasil on its own. All right, then that was the original Paladin deck, and that's why it wasn't good until people figured out how to make the low curve really good. So he's saying you can't beat it. It's more that Priest sucks and Priest can't beat it. All right, my decks can beat it. If I get to that point in the late game where I'm in control and my opponent goes Ursol, like I can beat 3 rounds. I know how to do it. I know how to use the freezes. Both Warlock and Mage are using freezes. Death Knight, I have to have used the Corpse Explosion to save my poison. It's hard. You have to be thinking ahead, but it's very, very doable. So
there are some control decks people are still playing because they're so powerful against the very popular aggressive decks, but those decks just get absolutely obliterated still by stuff like Zermimi Priest or Wheel of Death Warlock or Mill Warlock. And
I mean, so let's just so there's not that many control decks. So let's give the examples. So I mean, control decks do lose to Zimmery Priest, and that's one of Warlock's worst matchups. But I just don't play against it. But here's the deck he's probably thinking: Space Death Knight, right? Losing to Zimmery Priest, right? So like I said, I'm on the Zimmery hate train. I just want to just emphasize that. Wheel Warlock 52%, right? Space Warlock 42%. So they don't actually lose the pure wheel build, that it's actually favored. So let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to find if there's another popular control deck. I mean, the Mage is kind of, we'll put the Mage as a popular control deck. Mage crushes the Warlock decks, right? And it also, so it's just not true. Like there are other good control decks and they don't auto lose to wheel. So, like I said, he's making it into this big thing where really the problem is Zimmery Priest. Like I said, I'm totally on board on the Zimmery hate train. It's bad. It's boring. Let's get rid of it. Okay. All right. So
it's funny to me that one of the cards that I actually hear some of the most complaints about is Kil'jaeden. Kil'jaeden is like very often the end game state for a lot of these control decks because it is kind of the default, like, hey, this game's gonna go forever. This gives me a way that I don't die to fatigue and can, actually win the game. Often the complaints are like, oh, it makes fatigue not matter. It's like, okay, that's fine. Fatigue exists as a mechanic in Hearthstone, not because it's somehow some fundamental element that makes the game fun. It's because games gotta end. The whole reason fatigue exists is because you don't want the game to be able to get to a state where neither player can do anything and nothing happens. And the game is a draw or whatever because both players are out of stuff. The whole point of fatigue, games gotta end. Kil'jaeden can end the game.
Yeah, he seems to understand this, but it was against Wheel and Mage that are like turn 30 wins, all right? Maybe not turn 30, like turn 18. So it's game's gotta end Kil'jaeden, game's gotta end Wheel, game's gotta end Colossus, all right? Glad we, you know, so, you know, game's gotta end. We don't need to do Zimmery on turn 7, okay? That's too soon, okay?
Running your opponent out of stuff entirely is not a particularly interesting or satisfying, maybe it is for you, but it's generally not a very satisfying like conclusion to a game of like, oh, I just killed every single thing you ever did and now you're out of cards and, you know, blah. Kil'jaeden like is a way that is like a solved problem. Now you have to deal with everything. You can't just be planning to kill all my stuff because Kil'jaeden exists. And Kil'jaeden fundamentally is a thing that will end the game. Like you just get demons that are bigger and bigger and bigger. And unlike the cards that I was talking about previously, the Zerimis and Colossus and Wheel of Death and everything, the stuff that happened before very much still matters. That's the biggest difference between something like...
Yeah, I mean, Kil'jaeden might be the greatest designed card in the history of Hearthstone. So, you know, I can't, you know, completely agree, all right? Glad, you know, so, anyways. And it does it, so... Dude, okay, maybe second best. All right, Rental number 1. All right.
Kil'jaeden and something like Colossus or Zerimi, right? When you get to the Kil'jaeden part of the game, like, did you use...
I mean, Colossus does matter, all right? Your life, your this, your amount of tempo pressure you're on. And do we want every deck to win with Kil'jaeden, you know, in the late game? Like, I like multiple. We have a Wheel win condition. We have a Colossus, which usually takes multiple Colossus. That's where they have all the bounce things. And we have a Kil'jaeden win conditions. And we have Starship win conditions. That's 4 different cool ways to win, right? That's kind of fun. Anyways.
Your Ceaseless Expanse. How much of your removal is still left? You know, how much of like the various important elements have you been able to save for like this new stage of the game? It's because it's still a game back and forth, not just, hey, you're dead, I comboed off. I think Kil'jaeden is a fantastic card and I'm glad it exists. And I think that it creates a dynamic that is so different than all the other ones that I mentioned before. Again, because everything that led up to Kil'jaeden still matters once you play Kil'jaeden.
Yeah, I mean, Kil'jaeden, it's often like the game's already over when you play Kil'jaeden. It's just kind of a formality. But I mean, I don't think having that be the only win condition that's okay is good, all right? Like, I think having Colossus, like, we don't want one neutral card being the main win condition of the game for every deck, right? So so far, like, I love Kil'jaeden. I love Kil'jaeden late games, but having things like Colossus, having things like Wheel, having things like Starship, those should be the default win conditions. Kil'jaeden should be maybe, you know, for, you know, Control Mirror, that's like a 20, maybe in certain matchups, a 30% of the time, but that, I don't think Kil'jaeden should be the default. And like I said, I still think all these other things matter. But anyways,
game is not just simply over. You're not just overwhelmed by, you know, damage or, you know, like just a bunch of bounce and buff and AoE effects from like a Shaldrasil or whatever, or the game just flat out ending from Wheel of Death. That, I think, is a totally fine card in a world of otherwise, in my opinion, pretty miserable win conditions. And again, this isn't about...
I just don't think that, like, I want to, like, go, you know, look at previous metas where I think his point of view, like, when I played against AlTK, I very much felt this, of, like, nothing you did mattered. You got 30 life, you put tempo pressure, but they just got the owl and they OTK'd you on turn 7 and did 60 damage. That is really not this meta. So that's what I'm trying to emphasize. And things do matter, so...
like, just the game balance of it. You know, the most powerful decks are mosely, like, Protoss Rogue, the Drunk Paladin, like menagerie aggro decks of various stripes. And those decks are fine. And like, I see people, anytime someone complains about like Zarimi Priest, or I've seen people say like, you know, like that my comments on Protest Mage must mean I'm a bad player. It's like, dude, I have forgotten more about more card games than you will ever know.
I mean, it's more like he's playing decks that don't win the game, and like, how long do we want our games to go? You know, should the Protoss players wait another 10 turns? Like, the whole, you know, it's like, what do you want the Protoss mage to win? Like, do they have to go kill Jaden? Like Colossus, it makes sense. You know, it makes sense. You play this, you're playing defensive, you're not doing much. Eventually, in the ultra late game, it really takes forever. So I don't know. It's yeah.
Right? I don't have the trophies up here right now, but scoreboard, okay? Just because I don't want to just sit there and spam aggressive decks because that's the only viable thing in a world with a bunch of combo decks, that doesn't mean that someone's bad at the game. It means they enjoy a different kind of thing. And if what the game is going to be about is having to spam aggro decks because there's just a million Zarimi Priests and Ursol Paladins and Colossus Mages or whatever out there, I'll just play a different game. And that's what I've been doing. That's really kind of where I'm at with Standard. It sucks. The reason it sucks is because there are too many different decks and too many powerful decks that reach a point in the game at which nothing else before that mattered. And there's too few ways to interact with them. I'd love to see the power level of a lot of these things get pulled back. I'd love to see Zarimi powered down. I'd love to see Colossus powered down. I'd love to see Ursol Shaldersill powered down. I'd love to see specifically the Ancient of Yore Curse Campaign layover nonsense.
No, keep that. That's the best thing this meta has going for it. All right. Anyways.
That enables like basically the shell of every Warlock deck powered down. I think that once you reach a certain point, you're okay with there being a King Plush Imbue Hunter. If that's like kind of a narrow thing that some people...
Wait, that comes down really early. I actually hate that deck. All right, I'm just saying. I've lost to that deck. I'm surprised he's defending that one. He won't be defending that when that actually becomes the meta. All right, I'm just foreshadowing, okay?
People are playing, but it isn't like 40% of the metagame is something like this that it is right now. Because as it stands, I'm not playing Standard. As it stands, once the mini set comes out, I probably won't be playing Standard because I don't see it changing any of this fundamentally. This isn't about balance. This is about fun. I'm not having fun, so I'm not playing. And that's where it's at. So I really hope that we see some pretty significant changes. I don't think like one or two things is going to move the needle enough because there's so many different decks that have this fundamental gameplay experience of just kind of blah, 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 game over. And
it's so many different decks have win conditions, right? Like, what, you know, that's what he's saying. It's like game over. Slasher Shield takes forever. It's like multiple rounds. It's interactive, all right? Warlock takes forever. Colossus takes forever. You know, these aren't, you know, it's so I find I'm sure you do pocket trade, all right?
That's not fun. So yeah, anyway, that's where I'm at. I don't know if there will be balance changes coming with the mini set. Typically we don't see that, right? We typically see mini sets come out and kind of like have their chance to have their impact before things are shifted. But I really hope we see stuff in the wake of the mini set get changed in a meaningful way because it's not fun for me right now. And I know that I'm not alone. Again, like, yes, you can just play a bunch of aggressive decks and beat these things. But like, I
mean, I'm with him. Playing aggro effing sucks. All right, it's boring. I'm totally with him. Like they shouldn't. I just think there are tons of other decks, and just Imbue Priest sucks. And as long as he tries to play Imbue Priest, he's gonna be miserable. He needs the like. You can still play like shitty control warriors that are actually decent with a hydration station. You could do well with those decks. You could beat Zimmery Priest with those decks. I don't know, but not so.
I think that there's a lot of people who want to play Hearthstone for fun and want to play the style of deck that they enjoy and have it not feel hopeless and embarrassing. If this were Magic, I would probably, you know, be happy playing in a world of a bunch of combo decks because I would just play an aggressive deck with some form of disruption and do my best to beat them because that's just the way my brain interacts with each of these games. But if I want to play like casually and for fun, I don't want to have to just be spamming, you know, my aggro decks every single game because it really gets...
Yeah, aggro blows, all right? Like, it's boring, it's not exciting, it's super mechanical. Like, no, you know, so I'm with him. I think we need to nerf Zimmery Priest, and we need to like have intervention say to everyone who's playing Imbue Priest, be like, it's not gonna happen. Okay? Imbue Priest sucks. Blizzard hates Imbue Priest. It's not gonna happen. Just give up. All right. It's play another control deck. They're out there. All right. There's multiple ones out. Warlock's a blast right now. Death Knight's good. Warrior's bad, but kind of still playable. So I saw Liquid Ox playing it.
I'm over it. So thanks for watching. Those are my thoughts. I really do hope we see some changes coming up. If not with the mini set, then soon thereafter. Otherwise, yeah, I'll be playing something else. So whatever it is, hope to see you there. Bye.
All right, let's just do some conclusions. So one, things I agree with Kibler. Zimmery Priest is bad for the game and unfun, and makes it so players who want to play their no win condition decks at low ranks can't play them. I don't like that. It's too easy to do. I think the design team should not allow these decks that are too easy. So an acceptable aggro deck, like he said this, Protoss Rogue. This is fine, okay? He did. I'm surprised he didn't mention Demon Hunter at all. Demon Hunter also will crush Zimmery Priest, by the way. Like these, I mean, I think, like, let's see, big Demon Hunter matchups against, let's see, Imbue Priest, yeah, 80%, right? So I'm surprised he didn't mention Demon Hunter at all. Like, this deck is really, really strong, by the way. It's like, so, but yeah, two, like, this, like, Blizzard needs to come out and just say, we never intended Imbue Priest to be good, and just make that a formal thing. All right. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So, and then after that, like, I don't think Protoss Mage is a problem. I don't, I'm biased on Warlock, but I think these decks are both, like, these are the fun control decks, and they're bad. Like, at top 1000, they're bad, right? Spaceship Warlock's not bad. I'm doing well with it, but the deckless Warlock isn't as good enough. The Protoss Mage, these are tier 4. Like, these aren't good decks, okay? So they don't deal with stuff well. So I think they're very slow. They have an interesting way to win. I find this deck immensely fun. I just don't play it because it's not good. But this is one of my, I think, the most fun decks of the meta, but it's bad. So I don't play it as much because I'm wanting to win right now. But you gain a lot of armor. You're building to this slow thing that takes forever. It takes forever to get the big Colossus against another control deck. So it's so yeah, I think nerf Zimmery. All right, I mean, just delete this card. F this card. This card ruins the game. All right, we got that part. Two, I mean, this, yeah, that's what I would do. So I think decks have win conditions, and win conditions are not that efficient right now. Like, they take a while. Remember, he really said this is unbeatable. It's very beatable. It's very interactable. If you watch my stream, I'm beating this all the time. I'm beating this combo of Ursul plus let me move the screen a little bit. So I'm beating this combo all the time. Okay, so it's very beatable. This is what's good about Paladin. This card. All right. Even when we look at drawn win rates, just their ability to get these 8/8s and 5/5s down between turns 4 and 6 is just so hard to beat. So some lists, like Pocket told me, like, he cut Ursul, put it back in, but you could cut this card and the deck's still good. So it's an immensely powerful tempo deck. It's too strong. I want it nerfed. But bottom line is, it's not. This is not why, like, this is very beatable with every major control deck in the game. If you are playing, let's see, look at popularity. Okay. If you're playing this deck, Corpse Explosion and your Pyro Poisons, that can clear it. If you get to that, and some Starship stuff potentially, right? If you're playing Protoss Mage, you got to time your Colossuses, right? Time your Colossuses, use your Blizzards, stuff like that. If you're playing Space Warlock, it's about your 4-mana spell, your freezes, stuff like that, spacing things out. All these decks can beat the Saladrisil pretty consistently if you're ahead on tempo. So those are my overall thoughts. I had fun. I think I'm gonna make this a YouTube video, so maybe you guys will see it there. So we'll see if anyone watches. All right.